Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Oh, I see the ambulance is already out here. God, who's going to need that? Well, that ain't going to be me, that's for sure. But this isn't why you've called. Now, where do I begin with this one? Well, I'll get the less important stuff out the way first, and then we'll get on to the two important things I've got to mention. First and foremost being Keir the traitor Starmer trying to open up a contract with people to basically allow the processing of illegal immigrants. And then we have the third attempted assassination attempt, potentially, that has been thwarted. Those are the two important things. But for now, I'm going to get a couple of other small things out of the way first. First and foremost, I've already put a post on it, but the manifesto is going to be starting on Saturday. So I'll be reading that book out. I don't know if I'm going to be doing it for like a couple of hours and then post 2 half-hour segments on, or if I'm just going to do like one segment and do it every week. I'm not sure yet, I'm undecided. But what I do know is that manifesto book, I plan to read that by the end of Christmas. Or sorry, by the start of Christmas, not the end. So that's the first thing I want to get out of the way first. The second thing, probably going to be a little bit distasteful, shall we say, where this is basically going to be a direct message to my sister. For those that don't know, who maybe are new to the channel, I've not exactly got amazing relations with my family, because they all seem to think that what my behaviour is self-destructive. Well, I've already made a point that I've said I disagree with that shit, because it's only really that if you willingly get yourself arrested. And I'm not too against my nan, because obviously she's my nan, and at the end of the day, she cares more than anything, as does my mother. But my sister, on the other hand, I can pretty much safely say, as much as she tries to hide it, I don't think she really cares, quite frankly. And so I am more than willing to air dirty laundry on my sister, whereas I might not be so willing to do it to the other two. One of the many delightful things my sister has done with me is she's even gone out of her way back in years yonder, back when old COVID 1984 was making an appearance, where the government was doing Project Fear 2.0 by telling people, you've got to get vaccinated, or you've got to stay at home and protect the NHS and all that bollocks. Well, we all know how that turned out. All the conspiracy theorists, more like conspiracy facts or factors, got it all right, whereas the mainstream media had to swallow their pride and admit they were wrong. But it didn't stop my sister from confronting me outside Aldi when she was with her now ex-boyfriend, and she said to me, and I quote, because I didn't take COVID that seriously back then, I really hope that you get COVID, end quote. Now, I accept this isn't as bad as saying I hope you get cancer. It doesn't change the fact that she was willing to wish what could have been a deadly virus / disease upon me. But among other things that she's also done, as well as that, is made a complete prat of herself when she tried to say, oh, Tommy Robinson, he was the former leader of the BNP. No, he wasn't. In fact, if she even did 2 minutes of research, she'd have known that. She would have known that Tommy Robinson, stroke number 1, she would have known that Tommy had led the EDL, and he left it and disavowed it because he disavowed the genuine far right. But that's something a lot of left-wing NPCs like to do. They don't like to admit that Tommy disavowed the far right, because it would destroy any credible argument they have. But my sister, well, obviously, she can't have that. But to bring it back to more recent things, she's still prattling on about how Tommy Robinson's a horrible person and that he really is just a bastard and all that. But, once again, she cites no evidence. In fact, she even libelously slandered Tommy Robinson by saying that he instigated the Southport riots? No, he fucking didn't. If you did, again, 2 minutes of research, I feel like that's starting to become a catchphrase now. Anyway, if you did 2 minutes of research on this, sister, you would actually see a few videos where Tommy Robinson's actually called for peace. And that, if anything, he was telling all the lads not to attack the police or cause riots or criminal damage and all that shit. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because, say it with me, it doesn't suit the narrative. And some of the things she even suggested are just ludicrous. Like, I should sit on the fence more. I should sit in the middle more. Well, I'll tell you what, sister, if you want to sit on the fence, enjoy your sore ass. I will never get a sore ass, though, especially considering the fence will probably collapse under my weight. Anyway, I'm not going to sit on the fence on this shit. And don't forget, I'll have to pay the neighbour. But I'm not going to stand on the middle of this. I'm not going to sit on the fence on this shit. Because the bottom line is, this country is being taken over by radical Islamists and the Labour Party. Oh, but she says this, you should really think about your job. You should think about, do you want to keep your job, your salary, your wage and all that shit? Yeah, of course I do. Nobody wants to go to work. If everyone had their ideal way, nobody would be fucking working. And that would ironically be the right thing to do as far as this traitorous establishment. But the cold, bitter truth is, we have to work to get money. But I'm not afraid to actually call out Keir the traitor Starmer, or his cronies in the traitor party, I mean the Labour Party. Or maybe I was right first time. And after all, you haven't really got a claim to tell me what I can and can't do with my fucking life when you're the one who's fucking off to Sweden. You've lost all faith in the United Kingdom. And to be fair, in your defence, sister, I can't really blame you for that. Because this country is going down the shitter. But if you're going out of your way to flee the country, to go live in Sweden with your boyfriend, you don't really have any right to dictate to me how I should run my fucking life. You live your life, I'll live mine. I don't need to take the moral high ground with this shit. I only mentioned the whole COVID incident with you for the simple fact that I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemies, let alone my own fucking family. Do you see me preaching in the street right now that Keir the traitor Starmer should go get cancer? No, you don't, because I have principles. While you wanted to preach to me that it was funny and that Nigel Farage deserved to get that fucking milkshake thrown at him recently. Now, I don't know about you, almost feels tantamount to inciting violence. Or at bare minimum, sympathising with someone who could have potentially had acid in that thing instead of milk. And then I wouldn't think you'd be laughing then. In fact, I think cops would be round your house just like that. In fact, if I had said that about anyone else, hoping that they'd get acid in their face, I'd expect police to come round my house just like that. That's the thing. Even when I see my political opponents getting violated and assaulted by other people, I don't laugh. You know why? Principles. I have them. You don't, sister. So when you say you care and that you just want the best for me, do you know what it feels like? It feels like hollow words from a narcissistic woman who I suspect you have malevolent intentions with that boyfriend of yours. But you go on and you wish people to get milkshaked and wish COVID upon them. And in the meantime, I'm going to be sitting here doing videos, making a name for myself, while you slip away into obscurity, a coward of your own country. Now, that's out of my system. I can rest easy on my sister now, because I don't have to put up with her shit anymore. Now, for Keir the traitor Starmer, because he's next on this. He has now decided he wants to get companies in on a contract worth, and I'm trying to recall the figure off the top of my head here, is it £521 million to get some processing centres for illegal migrants. Notice how they use the word migrants, but I call them illegal immigrants because they have no legal or human right to be here. And I know my sister made a point of, well, their houses get bombed and all that shit, and they don't have passports and all that, but most of them, I think one of the most important things you have on you would be your passport. And while I accept there may be some instances where people lose their passports because they genuinely had them in the house and it gets bombed and what have you, I would have also thought that it's one of the most important documents you have, and it what effectively identifies you, and surely you want to keep that safe. But what would I know of 33 years of experience, nearly 34? Now, it entirely depends upon what this processing centre is going to be for. If it's to get these migrants in, find out who they are, where they're from, and all that shit, I have absolutely no problem with them taking them in and then sending them straight back to their country of origin. So we now have a record of who they are, and we can send them back saying, any people who don't come here via the right channels will not be welcome here. I am all for that. But I suspect it's for the latter. I suspect Keir the traitor Starmer is going to have these centres up to secretly process these people in as genuine people when they're not, when we've got no idea who they are, where they're from, what their intentions are, and whether or not Keir the traitor Starmer is using them, whether it's for cheap labour or whether it's for a private army or whatever. And that shit scares me, quite frankly, because at the end of the day, this could be a very dark precedent that he's setting for this country. And he thinks we're going to do this across 10 years. 10 years. Keir the traitor Starmer thinks he's going to be in power for 10 years. Keir the traitor Starmer, you'll be lucky if you last 10 months, let alone 10 years. In fact, you'll be lucky if you see it to the end of this year, let alone the end of the next 10. You've got no chance of that, matey. Your approval rating is through the crust of the earth right now. It is rock bottom. In fact, it's rock bottom and you're still digging to bedrock. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if you dig to the crust of the earth and want to burn yourself alive, quite frankly. You have proven time and time again, you are not a man of the working class, but you are a man who is a complete political farce. And I'm sure somebody's going to turn that into some music album or something. Man of political class, more like a man of the work of a political farce or some shit. Anyway, back on point. This traitor has got no chance of making it 10 years when he will be lucky if he sees it till the end of this one. And I'll give you the cold bitter truth as well. If he tries to implement this, there will be a violent revolution. Guarantee it. It'll be all-out civil war, because that will prove to the people, beyond and to the inclusion of every reasonable doubt, it will indubitably prove that Keir the traitor Starmer is not looking after the interests of the British people or the country, but rather he is holding the portcullis up and letting the enemies flood into our shores. But that's, of course, something the mainstream media are not going to tell us. But the idea that he has got this processing centre idea for these migrants, the illegal immigrants, that have no legal or human right to be here, and we have already made quite clear we do not want more people in our country. We don't want more of these fuckers invading our country, because that's what it is. It's not migration, it's an invasion. Hell, ISIS already made it clear back when the so-called migrant crisis, or the refugee crisis, was taking place, they would use the dinghies to flood our country with their own jihadis. And now we have over 5,000 of the fuckers in our country. Now, I don't know about you, I don't fancy that idea. And I sure as shit don't fancy the idea of opening the shores to radical Sunni Islamists whose idea of wanting peace is every other religion and every other group of people has to be subjugated or surrender to Islam, or if they don't want to surrender, they get beheaded. Simple as that. Their Quran tells them that. Don't just take my word for it. But Keir the traitor Starmer, as I said, he's holding up the portcullis for them. He's letting them in. Like he's inviting people to a fucking grand ball. Keir the traitor Starmer will literally refuse to see the evil in front of him. Hell, he sees no evil, he speaks no evil, and he hears no evil. The man, he is the most dangerous man in this country right now. Forget the likes of fucking Charles Bronson, or back in the day when Mr. Shipman was still alive, that he was the most dangerous person because he killed 200 pensioners. No, these two have got nothing on Keir the traitor Starmer. Keir the traitor Starmer, who is looking to have our pensioners freeze as well and give all our fucking money off to foreign aid. He's the most dangerous man, Keir the traitor Starmer. And I am so surprised there is not an arrest warrant out for him for treachery, deceit, endangering national security, and blatant fraud against the British people, because he deserves to be locked up. 100%. I will condone that. But what I will not condone is acts of violence against any political figurehead, no matter how much they are despised. I don't even know how Keir the traitor Starmer can even think that he has every right to his own power when his approval rating is at -30. I don't understand how the man can still be in power when he is willing to screw the British people every single day. Well, at this point, you don't even need sex at this point. Just look for Keir the traitor Starmer and he'll give you a good screw. Anyway, he is screwing every indigenous British person over because of his power-hungry mentality and wanting to serve the WEF. I wouldn't even trust the man to run a tap, not even a bath, let alone a country, when he's literally putting us in danger and making Britain a laughingstock in this world. Why do you think I say that the 26th of October is one of the most, if not the most important days we are going to have in our lives? It is a chance to tell Keir the traitor Starmer what the British people think of him. And God, that sun is glistening off my glasses. But anyway, this is our chance to tell Keir the traitor Starmer what we think of him. He needs to go. Indubitably. He needs to be kicked out of power, because there is no shot that this country is going to last another 5 years. Hell, it won't even last 5 months under his rule. Simple as that. And I think what we need to do is we need to have a party put in power that actually represents Britain. And right now, I only see one of two options: UKIP or Reform. UKIP's new leader seems like he's got a pair of balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to actually make some of the real hard decisions. Not what Keir the traitor Starmer thinks is a hard decision. Oh, I've got to give 300 quid to the pensioners. Now I can't be bothered to do that. He would rather give 600 million of our taxpayer money to Ukraine, to people who don't need the money. And by the people who don't need the money, I mean the Prime Minister or President of that country, Mr. Zelensky. All that does is it funds more wars and more suffering in Russia and Ukraine, which both sides could do without, quite frankly. There are civilians and non-combatants being killed on both sides, much akin to Israel and Gaza. There are non-combatants being killed that do not deserve it, all because we're funding these damn wars. But here Keir the traitor Starmer he wants to put £521 million into processing more illegal immigrants who are costing the taxpayer with their low skill set. They are costing the taxpayer. Every single low-skilled migrant or illegal immigrant, or whatever you want to call them, that stay in this country, they're costing us. But that, again, is something the media won't tell you. They're not going to tell you that these migrants, the low-skilled ones, are a net negative. Now, of course, there are some migrants, let me be clear, that are a genuine benefit to this country, but a lot of those people are coming through the legal channels, whereas these illegals are not. They're throwing their passports into the ocean. They're making sure that people can't identify them, because if they were to be identified, I bet a lot of them would be shown the door, just like that, because these people would have nothing to bring to the table except misery, pain, and suffering. This is unequivocally why we need Keir the traitor Starmer out of power. And the 26th of October, there needs to be at least 250,000 up there. There was 100,000 apparently, according to Tommy Robinson, that attended the rally on the 27th of June. Speaks for itself. And Keir the traitor Starmer was shitting himself over that, because he realised how much influence Tommy Robinson has. He's no longer some Luton lad who can gather 100, 200, 1,000 football hooligans and cause trouble. He's no longer that person. Now Tommy Robinson is a very well respected man who is 4th time best-selling author with his manifesto book, which, as I said, I'll be starting to read on Saturday, who is able to bring tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people together against a common enemy who has no interest in serving the people he is supposed to serve as part of his prime ministerial duty. And I'm nearly certain there's probably going to be at least 150, 200,000 people, bare minimum. I hope it's going to be even more than that. And even more to the point, I'm hoping I'll get that chance to stand up on stage, though I'm not holding my breath. And apparently this is supposed to be bad for the world now. Anyway, I'm not going to hold my breath on that. But if I'm given the chance, I will blow the house down. Obviously metaphorically and orally speaking, not literally. Because I would love nothing more than to put Keir the traitor Starmer in his place. Because he is not some leader who's going to change the world for better. He's not going to be this person like Winston Churchill was, where he inspired the British troops in World War II to defeat the Nazis and give us freedom. No, Keir the traitor Starmer is the polar opposite of that. He's the antithesis of Winston Churchill. If people were to look to him for a speech, and he gave his speech, I think a lot of them would just bugger off home or let the invaders come in and conquer the country. Because Keir the traitor Starmer has no charisma. He has the charisma of a road-killed skunk, quite frankly. And I'm not afraid to say these things, because, and I'm sure people can say it with me, I'm not going to sugarcoat a motherfucking thing. I am not going to mince my words. I will say exactly how it is, and I will do my best not to bullshit you. Because Keir the traitor Starmer, he is a parasite. That's what he is. He's a parasite, and he is not good for this country. So for the last time, he needs to go. 100%. And now for the big one. Donald Trump. Apparently, one, I think his name was V. Miller, or V. Miller, something like that. That's V-double-E. Aged, I believe, 39 or 49. It's one of the two, I know that much. Was apparently arrested at a checkpoint at a Coachella rally, where apparently he had a loaded handgun, he had a shotgun, and a high-capacity magazine as well. Now, why would somebody want to come along to a rally of Donald Trump with a loaded shotgun and a handgun? Why? There's only one reason you'd want to do that, and that's if you were planning something maligned and malicious, i.e. an assassination attempt. Thankfully, officers did their due diligence, and they managed to take out the trash, metaphorically speaking. They arrested him. He's now being held, and the danger is over, for now. But this is now the third bloody time that Donald Trump has had his life put in danger. And we've already seen the Secret Service be complicit in giving these fuckers the opportunity to do so. So it begs the question, Was this man conveniently allowed through, or conveniently allowed to get this close? Or is there some other force in play? What scares me, though, is the potential shooter is being put on bail for $5,000. That's pocket change. I'm sure if I scrounged up all my savings, I'm pretty sure I could pay for his bail. Of course, I'm not going to, let me be clear on that shit. But I'm just making a point here. I could probably afford to pay his bail. And as I said, it really does raise the question, are there other forces in play here? Thank you. I mean, someone's got to figure this shit out, because this is now becoming beyond ridiculous. 3 attempts at Trump? I bet Kamala faker than Hollywood Teeth Harris hasn't had an assassination attempt yet. Not that I'm calling for it, let me be clear. But my point is, why isn't it she hasn't faced any of these attempts? Only Donald Trump. And I think we all know the answer to that. The globalists fear him. The globalists quite rightly fear Donald Trump. And all they're doing, by doing more and more of these assassination attempts, is they're making their L even bigger. They've already taken a massive loss on the first attempted assassination attempt on Trump. But now 2 more of these things? God, I wouldn't be surprised if an L just falls here in my local town of Norwich. It really wouldn't surprise me at this point. But I think Kamala faker than Hollywood Teeth Harris is finished at this point. Hell, she's already having a falling out with Joe Biddy Biden. The left are in shambles right now. And it shows. Because there's one thing that you can say unequivocally about bullied people. Nobody likes a bully. Nobody likes it when you start to attack the people that are basically considered the underdog. And if you keep attacking the underdog, don't be surprised if there's a sudden surge of support for him. And that's all they're doing. They're giving Donald Trump more support. Though the way I look at it, when they did that first assassination attempt, I think the election was over at that point, because they practically handed the keys to Trump. They destroyed any credibility the globalists had, just like that, because they didn't have the common sense to realize that if you attempt an assassination, you better hope it succeeds, or you are basically handing the victory over to the other side. As far as this recent assassination attempt is concerned, I'm glad Trump's all right. I'm glad that the police were able to preemptively arrest this prick, because I dread to think what would have happened if he had an opportunity to get up close to Trump. I mean, they've already tried long range and that failed because the shooter was shit. Thank Christ for that. And then the left all wanted to celebrate. And I bet they're still celebrating now. Or they're frustrated now because their third attempted attacker has now been arrested. I mean, how is it justifiable for the left to continually, how do I put it, to legalize going after political opponents? Do you see anybody on the right wing endorsing violence against Kamala Harris? Do you see anybody here who is endorsing attacking a political opponent on the left wing side? No, you don't. Now, why is that, I wonder? I'll tell you why. It's because people have a moral compass. That's the thing. Any person with any decency has a moral compass to say, now, you know what? This is not acceptable. Let's see what my compass says. Never eat scrumptious salads. Fuck off. Anyway, back on point. People are not going to call for violence against anyone if they've got any common sense and a decent heart. Because they know that calling for violence on hither or whether is fundamentally wrong. Like, at this point, I don't even need a set of steps to be like, I'm going to take the moral high ground on your sorry ass. Because at the end of the day, they're doing this to themselves. They may as well take that twat's loaded shotgun and point it straight at their foot and blow their foots off at this point, quite frankly. Obviously, I'm saying this in a metaphorical sense. But that's basically what they're doing. They're blowing their foots off. They're not even shooting themselves in the foot anymore. That's what's sad. But they keep on endorsing this violence against Donald Trump. And it begs the question, why haven't those cunts been arrested yet? Because I guarantee you, if there were any Americans who said the opposite, who said, oh, it's a shame they missed Kamala Harris, they were so close to hitting her, I guarantee you cops would be around their apartments, just like that. Because they would not tolerate that shit. And the left would be vying for those people's blood. They would want their heads mounted on spikes. Tell me I'm wrong. I dare you. Again, the mainstream media are not going to tell you this. But my point is not about Kamala faker than Hollywood teeth Harris. My point is that Donald Trump seems to be getting a relentless number of assassination attempts recently, leading up to the presidential election. And it begs the question, why? It's because they fear him. It's because they know full well, if Donald Trump gets in power, he will drain the swamp. He will indubitably drain that swamp. He will take out the trash and he will place it in the dustbin of history where it rightfully belongs. Because that's the thing the left fear the most. They fear their communism and Marxism being replaced by proper leaders who actually have their heads screwed on straight. I think mine's on. Anyway, they don't want people who've got their heads screwed on. They want nut jobs who want to open the floodgates, as it were, and let that crashing flood of Islam and low-skill migrants flood into their countries. They want globalism and Marxism to rule the world. They want communism to rule the world. Well, I'll tell you one thing, that's not something I'm going to let slide. Likewise for Keir the traitor Starmer. I'm not going to let that fucker get away with what he's done to this country. That's why the only excuse you could even remotely say is justifiable for not attending on the 26th of October is if one of your family members is laying on their deathbeds and they're about to pass on, or they are at risk of dying. That's it. I don't want to hear any nonsense about, oh, the football's on, or I've got to go shopping, or I've got to go and feed the fucking cats, or I've got to see my family who were expecting a family reunion. No. If your family are not in any immediate danger, you have no excuse not to turn up. You have no excuse whatsoever to justify not coming on the 26th of October. And unlike people who might say this and then might back out all of a sudden, I'm not one of those fucking people. When I say I'm going to do something, I do it. Like I said, only way I'm going to be stopped is literally if somebody's on their deathbed. Otherwise, I am going to make it my civic duty to attend on the 26th of October, 11 o'clock outside Victoria Station. And I hope to see a lot of you lovely people there who, whether you support my channel, whether you appreciate what I say, or whether you're just some random Tom, Dick and Harry on the street. I don't care. I'll happily shake hands with people, hug people, gossip with people. After all, I started out as very introverted. You might not think that, but I would have a lot of trouble in social spaces back when I was in my fucking teenage years and my early 20s. That's the thing. I've grown up. I've learned to get in there. You've got to get yourself out there. Push out your comfort zone and make things happen. Hell, I could have just led a normal life and been like, you know what, I'm going to keep my head below the parapet. I'm going to make sure I avoid all those shots and what have you. I could have done that shit. But that isn't very exciting to me. There are people who I know who have been talking to me, I even do collaborations with them, who've had their channels shut, stroke number 2, who have had their channels shut down for speaking in the same blunt, say it how it is manner that I do. They log on and their channel's gone, just like that. And it's sad when that happens, because it showcases that YouTube doesn't care about freedom of speech. I mean, sure, Tommy Robinson's still on YouTube, but the cold bit of truth is, whenever you try to search his name, he's shadow banned. They made it so if you try to search his name, instead of seeing him come up at the top with all of his videos showing, like you would if you were to type my name in and you'd see my videos up there, Tommy's doesn't show up. What you get is a lot of mainstream media crap and many hit pieces. Social engineering, folks. This is what our governments, our media, our establishment, and the left-wing Silicon Valley groups are doing. They're in cahoots with one another. But I'm going to tell you this much. 26th of October, I hope to be there. Unless I get struck down or one of my family members is about to die. I hope they don't. And I wish everyone else's families well, because I don't want to see your families die or one of your family members die, because that thought's horrible. No, we're going to make the 26th a day of celebration. Even if I believe this country only has like 1 to 4 months tops left in it, I'm still going up there on the 26th of October, big shit-eating grin on my face, minus the shit. And I'm going to go up there and I'm going to celebrate, because that's what it's going to be. It's a day of celebration. Music, having a chat, having a laugh, hugging each other, celebrating being patriotic, not discriminating against people like the left wing do. That's the thing. At our rallies, there's people of all colours, all creeds, all sexes, many different ages. What about the pro-Plasticine movements? Do you see a British flag amongst them? Do you see any Hindus amongst them? Do you see any Sikhs amongst them? You won't see anywhere near as many black people in their organisations, or white people in their organisations in some cases, as you will us. They don't have diversity. They only preach hatred and violence. Those who support Islam, and who support Palestine, who in turn supports Hezbollah and Hamas, prescribed terrorist groups. But of course they want to project it onto us being the far right and the racists and the fascists, even though you can't be racist against a religion. And the fascists, well, we're not denying other people the ability to speak out on their own platforms. Maybe you could make an exception as far as people who are terrorists are concerned and are inciting terrorism, but that's about it. Outside that, I think a lot of us would be pretty open to see them debate and make themselves look like fools. Whereas a lot of the left wings on the NPC side, a lot of the NPCs on the left wing side rather, they would rather shut down all political opposition, all ability to debate, all ability to go at loggerheads with one another verbally, because they fear debate. They can't win arguments in most cases. That's why my sister can't win many arguments. Because she doesn't have facts on her side. She doesn't have the truth on her side. And she doesn't do any frigging research. Now, I'm sure there's probably a few intelligent left-wings out there, left-wingers, rare breed. I should almost have an encyclopedia of them. Anyway, they're probably a rare breed, these intelligent left-wingers. But I'd love to see one. I want to see what they can do. But the trouble is, you'll almost never see one, because a lot of them have the IQ of a dried-up watermelon. That's the truth of it. But I've waffled on long enough, guys. 26th of October. Be there. And let's make this happen. And as said, On Saturday, I will be beginning reading the manifesto book, and I will start putting more of the truth out there, because the truth's on our side. We're on the right side of history, and not just because they call us far right. We're not far right. We're right so far. And the way I look at it, you're only calling us that because you don't want our movement growing. You don't want to give us credit when we're kicking your ass. Because that's what we're doing. In boxing terms, you're in the featherweights, or we've got Mike fucking Tyson. What say you? The way I look at it, we're going to smash it on the 26th of October. And we're going to smash it by being peaceful, uncovered, so your little infiltrators can't come in wearing masks and blend in with the crowd. And we're going to have a day of celebration, a day of positivity. Where's your positivity? The only positivity Palestine does is they're positively fucking evil, wishing genocide on Jews. Other than that, where's your positivity? I leave that to you. But don't get in our fucking way, because we're about to take out the trash, metaphorically speaking. And Keir the traitor Starmer is probably going to bed every night sleeplessly. He's probably checking under his bed every single night for Tommy Robinson. Because the cold, bitter truth that he doesn't want to accept is his days are numbered. And we, the British people, will come out in our hundreds of thousands and show him the writing is on the wall. Fuck me.